I'm probably here by myself. But it's all good. It is the 4th of July, and I'm working. I worked yesterday. I'm working today. So I figured, shoot, while I'm working, I might as well jump on and do some chit chatting. So I hope everybody's having a safe 4th and enjoying your day, doing whatever you're doing. Um, I don't get super duper excited about the holidays. I think my mindset changed a lot when I moved closer to home. Because when I lived out of state, it was a big deal. Like when I was in the Carolinas, I could drive to get home, but you still needed the day off to prepare for your trip, blah blah blah. So it was kind of a big deal. Well, when I moved down to South Florida, because that had to be a flight, that's when it really got to be a big deal because if you're flying, you want to try to book ahead of time so you get good tickets and all of that stuff. But um, when you have a boss that's like a workaholic who don't believe in taking off and then I think she probably worked every holiday because she was not married, she had no kids, and she didn't really have any family down there. So even though we were at a place that actually closed on the weekends, a lot of times she worked late weekends, everything. So I would put in my request to be off, and I don't know if y'all have this, but some people, you give them your request and they want to sit there and hold. They want to look at it. They want you to email them and I guess grovel or whatever. And that's kind of what I felt like the situation was with her sometimes because I would let her know, like we all know Christmas is December 25th. So I'm letting you know at the end of October, this was what I plan to do for Christmas. And I need to book my flight. So the longer it takes you to come back and approve my time off, the later it's gonna be, and the more my flight's gonna go up. And I explained it to her, which she understood that. But it was one of them things where you have some people that just enjoy being in charge and having the power to like feeling like they control them. You got control freaks. So a lot of times she never didn't approve, but she would take her time getting it back to me. And it's like, do I go ahead and book the flight, knowing that she just might pull an okey doke and be like, well, I can only give you this day, this day, and this day. And I'm like, so anyway, it was a big deal. So when I moved back to Alabama, even though I was in Birmingham and my parents up here near Huntsville, it was only like an hour and some drive. So, I work in healthcare most times. I'm working at an acute care hospital. And if you know that hospitals don't never close. So when it comes to holidays and stuff, there's always, depending on what department you're in, well, only two people can be off at one time. So, everybody's buying for that day off because the department never really closes and we have to have somebody there every day. So I would be like, I'll do the holiday. Because at this point, I'm back at home. Um, whatever we doing for the holiday. When I get off work, it won't take me but an hour to get there. So I ain't tripping. It ain't like, when I was out of state, where if I wasn't off, I knew I couldn't participate at all. I'm like, shoot, yeah, I work Christmas. I just mean I have to get up and drive home after the shift is over. So, and the way it was, I could get them going at 5 and leave at 1, still be at home for Christmas by 2. But yeah, the older I get, the less I am all big into the holiday hustle and bustle and stuff. Because I told my mom I took off last week, 2 days, which is why I didn't bother taking off any time this week. My mom had to have a dental procedure, and I was off with her for that Thursday and Friday, and then so I was like, yes, I was just off, and there's no point in taking Monday and Tuesday off. And plus, anybody else working, so it's not like nobody's bugging me with a whole bunch of emails. Pretty much everybody in my area took off, so um, it's a light day. I'll put it that way. And Naya, and y'all might hear her in the background. She in her room. I feel bad because I think I have turned her into a homebody like me because when I told her, you know, I had to work today, she was like, okay. And I even went in and offered, I was like, before I start working, do you want to go get lunch? We could go over to Bridge Street and have lunch. She's like, nah, yeah. Her thing is she don't feel like getting up putting on her clothes. I'm like, girl. So I said, okay. All she wanted was some Dairy Queen. So I went and grabbed her a hot dog and a hamburger from Dairy Queen, and she in there with her door closed and the TV on, and she in hog heaven. So apple don't fall far from the tree because that sounds like the ideal holiday for me too. So she get it from me. But I'm like I'm not gonna trip. She ain't got but about 4 more weeks before school start back. So I'm like, do what you do. So yeah, now when I was growing up, the 4th of July, and you got to be from. Well, I've never experienced the 4th of July growing up in a non-small country town. I grew up in a very small town. 4th of July was a big deal. Everybody got them new outfits. You had to get your 4th of July day clothes. Um, I remember my mama going to Bargain Town buying, the short sets and whatever. And that was the thing, because you was getting out walking up and down the road, showing off your 4th of July day clothes. And the community I'm in is only about 2 streets big. So it was like everybody out walking, showing off their new stuff. Of course, you had people doing fireworks. It was just a fun day in the community. And I grew up in 80s and 90s. I was in school in the 80s and 90s. So when you're in a small town, it's pretty much safe. You don't have to worry about, the most you worry about is somebody having an accident with some fireworks. But it was always fun because you always had whatever look and you was out trying to flash your little whatever. So I miss those days. And then when we did do things with the family, we would go to my aunt's. We had all of our holiday things or gatherings at my aunt's house. And I still have all these great memories of going over there. My uncle firing up the grill. He got the music going. We listening to, like, one year, it was Prince. When Doves Cry was my favorite song, and then there was a couple other ones, and he was playing. You dropped the bomb on me, all that good stuff. He had it in rotation, and he would just have the music blasting, and the food would be good, and the company would be good. I miss that. We grew up in a big family. We don't do that. Not like we used to. Everybody got older. The younger generation, it's so many of us, and we're so spread out. It's like nobody gets together anymore. So anyway, that's all good. So I'm hanging out in here today. I have been working on. I started my first podcast. Me and Naya hung out with me last time I was on, and we did a live, and I enjoy doing live with her, even though I'm not cool anymore. So she doesn't like to do all of the stuff she used to be on her head. When she was about 9 or 10, she'd have been breaking her neck to be in here with me on this camera. Now, not so much. But what I decided to do, since we have the ability to do podcasts on YouTube now, I created this podcast called Captivating Casual Conversations with Mel and Naya. So I figured, hey, I'm almost 50. She just turned 13. We got like a 40-year generational difference there. And we spend most of our time debating because she thinks she know everything. And she thinks I don't know nothing. And I have to prove to her that I know what I'm talking about. So, our relationship. Hey, Pandy, thank you so much for coming through. I figured I would be here talking to myself today because I know everybody doing their holiday thing, but I'm working today. But I am so glad that you came through to say hello. Happy 4th of July to you as well. I hope you and your family are having a good 4th. But yeah, nothing cool things. I'm old, outdated. I don't be knowing what I'm talking about. So we find ourselves having a lot of back and forth debates about things. And I try to be like when I was growing up, my dad always treated me like I won't say an adult. He was age appropriate, but like when it came to something that I wanted to do and we had a disagreement, he would let me debate my side. He would let me argue my side, and then sometimes he agreed. If my rationale was good enough, and then sometimes it was just like, no, you're wrong. So I think about all those conversations that he and I had together growing up when I would ask him different stuff, and he would be like, no. And, I already had it laid out in my mind why he's wrong, why he need to hear my side. And, sometimes he would give in, but, the older I got, it's funny. He would give in to stuff when I was younger. But when I started getting older, I guess because the things I wanted to do was growing up too. Because it might be for, let's say, one of the things about our household, we always had to go to bed before the lights went out outside. Our bedtime was 7:30. He didn't care if it was summer, spring, one or fall. If it was a weekday, you was in the bed by 7:30. So I'm like, look, I don't understand why I have to go to bed at 7:30. We don't have school tomorrow. I don't have to get up early for anything. Staying up an extra 30 minutes is not going to be that big of a deal. Why is it we can't, at least in the summertime, stay up to 8 o'clock? And I think I won that one. I had my point. Boom, 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 and uh, he let me have it. But, it's a difference between asking, can I stay up to 8 o'clock, and asking when I'm in the 11th grade, can my curfew be extended to midnight? That answer was no. It wasn't no debate. He like, because he was like, that the TV show that you wanted to watch when you stayed up for 30 minutes when you was 7 is a whole lot different from what you can do when you out for an additional hour and you got a driver's license in a car. He like, Let me see. Candy says, I enjoy the dialogue y'all had. It's just me and hubby at the house. My kids are all grown now. Say, oh, and you know what, Candy? How are you dealing with empty nest? I still got my baby is just 13, so I still got a good 5 years before she graduates, and I'm already when I think about her going to high school, I'm already getting butterflies because I'm feeling that empty nest. How did you deal with the whole empty nesting thing? Like, were you like? I know a lot of kids. Now I got a friend. She got five kids. She started early, being fast. So her oldest is 28. Her youngest just turned 16. So she count down. She like, I got one still at home. He'll be out of here soon. She looking forward to it. So I guess it's different. I know you said you have 3 kids. I guess it's different when you have more kids. And it may be different too. Like I said, she started young. So she been mamaing around here for almost 30 years. Whereas I only been mamaing for 13. But yeah, she like, let's get them out. She rolling all of them out. So I'm just wondering. Oh, and thank you for sharing it out. I'm just wondering how does the emptiness thing work for you? Are you good with it? Because um, it bothers me. It doesn't bother me, but I'm just like, my baby gonna be gone. If she anything like her mama, because I not only moved, I moved out of state. Like initially, when I graduated, I stayed at home for 2 years and did the junior college because I personally didn't feel like I was ready to go away to a 4-year university. And plus, financially, that was going to work out better for my parents because I've always thought about big picture. So I'm like, I got a full scholarship to the junior college. I can go here for 2 years. They don't have to spend a dime. Then when I get ready to go off to school, I only got 2 years left. So that's what I did. But when I did leave, I left home in 94. I was 20. I did not move back to this area until from 1994 to 2018. you know, I was either living in Birmingham, which is a couple hours up the road, or I was living out of state. So if she anything like her mama, she gonna be like, pew, and she out here. She gonna be gone. Okay, Panda says, this is my third year since my youngest left home. It was hard at first, but now I appreciate it. I talk to them all the time though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe at that point, because uh, right now, my only job, my only pastime is just being nice mom, and I'm okay with it. Cause like I was a late bloomer. When I had her, I was almost 40 years old. So I had, as the old folks say, I had already did everything I was grown enough to do. And, you know, I was good with sitting my tail down for the next 18 to 20 years and focusing on being her mom. Not saying that I ain't still weave some stuff in there, but my overall focus is everything else is secondary. She said the hardest part was learning to shop and cook for two versus five. Girl, what you talking about? Now, when I was at home and I would help out, which my mama still cook every day, okay? She didn't work, she was a housewife. And she cooked breakfast and she cooked dinner. Now I helped her a lot, but I never really like you hear some people say they had to cook, you know. And thank you. She said, I look so pretty. Thank you, girl. I've been working on trying to get this weight down. And so my mom was the type, she was cooking. I helped her out a lot in the kitchen. But like I've heard my aunts and stuff tell stories about how they had to cook for the whole family and stuff. So, you know, when I do cook, I was used to cooking or helping to cook for a family of six. So when I moved out by myself to go to school and stuff, a lot of times I ain't even do no cooking because I had been eating home. A lot of people feel like ain't nothing like some home cooked food. I was sick of home cooked food because we lived in the country, we didn't have access to fast food on a regular, so we ate at home all the time. So when I moved away to college and got to Birmingham, where we got fast food restaurants all the way up and down the street, I was like, this is a whole new experience now. Weight wise, it wasn't a good thing, but I wasn't trying to cook nothing. But when I did cook, like if I made like lasagna or spaghetti, or I didn't know how to cook for one with that type of thing. I would be doing like the way we cooked at home. So that took some getting used to for me too. And now I got that one in there who don't eat enough to feed a bird. So even when I do cook, um, it's still like cooking for one. And I had weight loss surgery years ago, so my appetite still is not a very big appetite. So between me and her, I may make a sandwich or heat up something in the microwave. She good. Like most of the time, she wants some Dairy Queen or something like that. If she wants something home cooked, she want to go to my mama's house and let my mom cook. Cause when I ask her now, I do some crock pot cooking sometimes. I like cause she likes brisket or whatever. When I put it in the slow cooker, um, some stuff, But the other thing about her is she get tired of stuff quick, and she ain't one for leftovers. I ain't got a problem in the world with leftovers. I can eat all the leftovers for um a whole week, maybe another week. After she done ate it one day, she might want you to heat it up for her again one time, and she done it. And I'm like, so it was like even when like she would ask for something like hamburger helper, I get the hamburger helper, and she eat out of it twice. I got to eat the rest of that. So it's like it really is no point in cooking when it comes to her. So I wish my older son lived closer so I could have my two grands around. I know it. See, my mom and them, I started late. My brother, he had his first child in 2004. At that point, my parents were, let me see, I was 30. I turned 30 in 2004. And so my mom and dad were like 50. So they got their first grandchild at 50. But the problem was they lived in Atlanta. So it was a 4-hour drive for them So, they still weren't seeing them very often. And then I fooled around and have Naya in 2010, but I'm in Florida, so they still not getting the deal with the kids. So, honey, they was more happy than anybody when they were sad that I was going through the divorce. But when I told them I was moving back home, them niggas was over there happy. They finna get their baby. They finally finna have a grandbaby. So, needless to say, that when I did move back, and I would go out and stuff, the first thing everybody asked me, where's the baby? Or where's Naya? They're like, y'all know what Naya is. She with her grandparents. They don't want to let her out of their state. And when I first moved back, in 2012 when I was going through the divorce, I think I've shared this with y'all before. I was going through trying to make sure my finances was right. Like I wanted to make sure I didn't owe anything in Florida, for when I was there. And then, so I stayed with my folks for like a year, and I drove back and forth from Birmingham, from Decatur to Birmingham every day, which is like over an hour drive, to keep from having to, because I went, first of all, mentally, because of the divorce and stuff, I wasn't really ready to, look into trying to figure out, well, get an apartment, all that type of stuff. I just was kind of in, put one foot in front of the other mode, And so staying with them was a big help because Naya was 2. I knew she was in good hands. I could go to work. I could work as much overtime as I wanted to because I knew she was in good hands. It wasn't like I didn't, I had to rush to go home. And all that work and stuff, number one, I needed the money. And number 2, it took my mind off my personal life. So I was working like I would work my regular 40 hours, and a lot of times I had anywhere between 20 and 30 hours of overtime each week, not pay period, but a week. So, the work was there. It needed to be done. They okayed the overtime. That's why I always say I wish like hell. Now, this is before I got involved in my econ personal financial success business, so I didn't even do the right thing. Well, I didn't blow that money, but because of the strategies I've learned with my econ, I could have took that overtime money and made it do a whole lot more than what it did. But you live and you learn. But that I took a year. I stayed with them. I stacked my paper. I paid all my bills. Then, I decided it was time for me to get an apartment. So when I got ready to, I got the apartment in May. That's when I signed the lease. And she was still staying with my parents because I was still doing a lot of overtime. So a lot of times I would bring her up, which I didn't have my furniture because a lot of my stuff is still in storage. The only thing I did buy, I bought her a bedroom suit. Same when she's sleeping in there, because I told her when she got it, I got this a full size bed, because you gonna be in this bed until you get ready to leave for college. And I meant it. I'm gonna let you keep this bed till you outgrow it. At that point, it's gonna be time for you to get your own bed in your own place. So bought her a bedroom suit. But the rest of my furniture and stuff that I kept, because a lot of stuff when I got ready to move, I gave it away. Marriage was over. I didn't want a whole bunch of reminders. So the only thing I really kept, I had just got a new bedroom set, which I still have. And I wasn't gonna get that away, but like the kitchen furniture, the kitchen table and stuff, the couch and sofa, I just gave it away. I didn't even try to say it. Like whoever wants, you can have. So I wanted to be able to get a fresh start and everything. And so I did end up going to Florida and getting my what stuff I did keep and bringing it back, which was good because I was paying a storage bill every month with it being in storage up there. So down there, I'm bad with geography. Even though Florida's at the bottom, I'm liable to say up there. That's just I'm bad with it. So pay no attention to it because like Birmingham is south of here. I have to get 65 south to go down there. I'm good for Highland. I'm finna go up to Birmingham. And people be like, up, but you going down. I'm like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So yeah, So I signed the lease in May, and I still had her pretty much staying with my folks so that I could do my work. But then, when it came time for school to start, even though, she was turning 3. So um, it was time for her to go to kindergarten. My folks had said, she's already, because she ain't been around number old folks anyway. She's already an old child. She need to get used to being around kids. So she turned 3 that year, and I went ahead and got her signed up for daycare. She started in September. And it's so funny because my folks they were pushing me to go because they was like, she needs to have her own room. She needs to, they were trying to push me back out the nest because I had got comfortable, honestly, staying with them. And they like, you need to go and get your own place, do your own thing. You can't use this as a crutch forever. So I'm like, okay. So I got the place. And when I finally came to get her, now you got to keep in mind, she been staying with them for over a year. Even when I wasn't there, she was there. And honey, if you had seen how depressed and upset them 2 grown folks was to see their baby leave, you'd have thought she was going off to war. And it was World War I. I'm like, we just a couple hours up the road, right? We still gonna be here, be coming down here all the time. I'm still gonna be, because they act like they were saying goodbye forever. So, it was hard on them because, honey, they love their grandchildren. Them girls, my brother, I think I mentioned his oldest girl, she just graduated. So she just finished high school. And then my daughter and my niece Cassidy are both 13. So they always saying, we don't have no babies no more. And, but I'm just like, well, I don't know how you feel as a grandparent, but I know how you feel meaning she ain't no baby no more. This time getting away from me. Let me see. You said, I'm happy though. They're all pretty independent, but it's so unusual. Well, I know it. I know it. My daddy says all the time, when all of us are at home, because it's 4 of us, he like it's music to my ears. He don't come and join in a lot of times. He'll be back in his room. He just likes hearing the background noise of having everybody at home talking and, going back and forth. And because it's me and my 3 brothers, so we've always been kind of like a lively bunch. So he loves the sound of all us being at home. So anyway, yeah, that transition from divorce to going back to single life, and it's funny because I was just, I don't know if you were over there, Pandy. I was over there in Gio's Power Hour the other week, and she had the guest. Her guest was what is his name? The Word. I think his name is The Word, and the topic was it was dealing with the divorce from a male perspective. And she had the Word on there. He said he divorced and remarried, so he's on his second marriage. So I thought it was interesting because I actually thought, because I've never really been a relationshipy person. I've always been like really, really independent, and I don't have to be tied to nobody. I'm not one of them you got to call me 15 times a day or text me 50 times a day. Because even when I was married, my husband would call me sometimes at work, and it wasn't because I didn't want to talk to him, but it's like when I'm at work, it was busy, right? So I'm looking at the phone like, what do you want? Oh, I'm gonna see him in a couple hours. I'll be off in a couple of hours, and that's I'm very practical when it comes to stuff like that. But I have had girlfriends that will get mad. I'm talking about like nothing is going on. And they bitching because he ain't called me all day. I'm like, well, what is it you want him to say? And they'll be like, well, he could just call, especially if we're out of town somewhere. My thought pattern is this: if I'm out of town with my girlfriend and I'm enjoying myself, you ain't gonna call me because at this point you're bothering me because I'm trying to hang out with my girls, So I'm like, I don't see the big necessity. And I felt like me and my husband understood each other on that because he's not a man of many words anyway. That was the biggest difference between me and him. I'm basically a quiet person, but when you get to know me, I'm not a quiet person. I talk, and he is quiet all the time, pretty much. So it was almost like, well, even if you call me, you know, during the whole phone, like, hey, what you doing? How your day going? Like, when you called me yesterday and the day before and the day before that, it's the same way. And he knew I didn't mean that bad, but that's just me being me. I'm not in a attached at the hip type person. So I really didn't think that the transition of going from being married to single life was gonna be that big of a deal because, whatever. But it was actually hard, harder than I expected. And so when I was commenting on, oh, you missed it. Okay, it was a good conversation. She was asking him a series of questions and stuff, and he took questions from the audience. And my thing was, do you feel like divorce is harder, even though he can't experience it as a woman? But based on the answers he was giving from the questions that Gio was putting out there, his answers were all kind of like, I don't want to say nonchalant, but like, it happened. I dealt with it. I moved on. Whereas with women, it seems like we tend to be, and I'm not the typical whiny woman, but even with that, I was like, because one of the questions that was asked was, when your marriage ended, did you feel like you failed? And for me, I was, I think it was more of a thing for me that I felt like I had, because I always make the joke, I flunked marriage. Like, I'm used to doing good at everything, working hard, getting good results, but everything. Well, relationships are different because it's dependent on input from two people. So if y'all not on the same page, I mean, it's not gonna work. So it's like at some point you have to decide whether or not you're gonna call it quits, or some people believe in staying married till they die. I'm not saying the first time things got bad, I was ready to hit the road, but it's like when the writing is on the wall, what's the point? Because I used to joke, I made this joke, that's my answer to everything. Joking and sense of humor is I'm one of those that'll laugh to keep from crying. So I would say all the time, while I was married, because I was not a relationshipy type person, I would question myself on, like, am I overreacting or not? Am I making too big of a deal about this? Because my brother and I, oh my gosh, we've had so many conversations because he and I are kind of like polar opposites. And one of the things that he always used to tell me is, you want somebody to jump when you say jump, and you just feel like it ain't right if it's not done in your time frame. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's not what I need people to understand from a even as a friend perspective. For me, it is very hard for me to ask somebody to do something for me. So 9 times out of 10, I have tried everything possible before I have to go and bother somebody else, because in my mind, that's what I'm bothering somebody. So before I take it to that level, I've tried every possible thing. It's not like I just had a whim and said, hey, I need you to come pick me up and run me to so-and-so. I done called everybody I think of. I done tried to arrange, and it's down to this. So usually when I call for me, and then you have to keep in mind too, y'all know the saying, a sense of let me see, an emergency. How does the saying go? A sense of urgency on your part does not equal an emergency on my part. So in other words, just because I need to get it done, I'm doing you a favor. So if I can't do it right now, that's on you. You the one need a favor. So I try to look at it from their perspective, but like I would get mad because it's like, okay, I need you to do pick me up from here because I gotta do this, this, and this. So it's like, I'm asking you because there's number one, there's a time frame involved. Um, Maybe if it's for work, there's some money involved. There's a reason why I'm saying, come on. And I always would hear, see, you think everybody's supposed to jump, and you say jump. The world don't revolve around you. And I'm just like, number one, I barely ask you for anything. And number two, when I do ask you, it took a lot for me to even ask you. So knowing that about me, why you give me a hard time about this? That was my thing. So I would sometimes ask my brother his opinion on stuff because he has that type of attitude. The one my husband has, my brother has that attitude about a lot of stuff, and me and him go back and forth. And of course, you know, both of us think we right. We both always think we right. So, a lot of times, so my joke was, when I was questioning stuff, and you pray about your relationships. So I would say, Lord, um, guide me on this. If I'm missing something, or if there's something I need to be taken away from this, give me a sign. Give me some guidance on it, because you know, nobody is an expert on relationships, in my opinion. And then my parents' marriage is a marriage from a whole nother story. They make it work for them, but it's not one that anybody is gonna be modeling now. I put it that way, because they have their ebbs and flows even still to this day. Because I think I put in Geo's chat. My parents have been married for almost 50 years. It'll be 48 years in September. And it was a few times I wish they asked had got divorced, because they was getting on my nerves. Because with me being the oldest and the only girl, whenever they need to vent, I get that. I'm the vent person. So there was a lot of times I just was like, I wish y'all would just go. But at this point now, I'm like, my mama just turned 70, my dad about to be 69. Yeah, y'all time left on earth, make it work. Ain't no you splitting up trying to do nothing now. Just make it work. Because you've been together this long, stick it out. But um, I just I would pray, and I would be like, let me know. So I always say, the first time the Lord was like, hey, you said you wanted me to let you know if I see something. He just kind of gently tapped me. The next time he was like, hey, like you're trying to wake somebody up out of their sleep and they don't wake up at first. So that was the second time. The third time, the Lord came through and said, bam. He was like, you wanted a sign? Here your sign. So I was like, as I gathered myself and figuratively got up off the ground, because I just been bowled it over, I was like, okay, I hear you. I hear you, Lord. I know what to do. So it was like, when I made a decision to go, I just pretty much that's what I did. I went. So yeah, it was it it was it was a mess. It was a mess. But you know, now I've been divorced now since 2014, I think. Yeah, I think my divorce was final in 2014, and it was a rough. You go through it's just like you go through the phases. I can't stand you. I don't want to talk to you. Stay away from me. I don't know whatever. But you go through all those emotions. Then eventually you get back around to, what? I got to deal with this long world for the next. We got a kid together. And I had to get to a point with myself, and that was something else that was discussing in Power Hour. You kind of like have to get to a point where you just like, you know what? It ain't even worth being mad no more. What happened. We both survived it. We both got our health, because what I found out is me sitting around being huffed up and mad and wishing his downfall. from Alabama, he down there in Florida, and he down there in Florida probably living his best life, ain't gave it a second thought. Who was sitting around miserable? Me. So I just made a decision. Um, I'm tired of being mad. I'm done. I've been mad long enough. And my biggest thing was, and I'm not one for giving out a whole lot of personal business. So I would just say, um, I took responsibility for some things, but I don't feel like I was the biggest factor. And my thing with him was, I just want a sincere apology, because you know how men are. They will not admit when they effed up. They will keep being blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I think that's what bothered me more than anything, because number one, I done fooled around with your ass and flunked marriage when I should have had an A. I done got a damn F. And number two, you won't even apologize for it. So it took some years, but I think maybe back, I had already moved here. So I moved here in 2018. So maybe in 2019, I think it was before the pandemic, he called and we actually had what felt to be a sincere conversation. And he apologized for some things. And that was pretty much acknowledge that you fucked up. That was my biggest thing. Acknowledge that, and you know, we can make it do what it do from here. So, and that's pretty much how it's been. Like at this point, we can conversate, we can visit, we can see each other. I ain't nowhere trying to keep a pistol cocked with the bullet loaded in case I see him, so I can shoot the kill. I'm over all this, you know, and you know, it is what it is. So, but I thought the power hour conversation, it was nice to hear from a male perspective, because his thing was, nope, I do not feel like I failed. It just didn't work out. His answer seemed more like, yeah, we went through this and that, but I just moved on. And he remarried. I personally, my experience, and I don't consider myself bitter, because I believe in love. I encourage love. I love to see people who are getting married or have plans to get married, if that's what they want to do. I'm a firm believer. If that's what you want to do, I support you. If you like it, I love it. Me personally, I ain't never married nobody else. And then people always, but never say never. Never, 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 never. Never. I ain't never doing it again. And if you do hear that I'm doing it again, I tell them all the time, take me somewhere, because either he blackmailed me or he didn't put a root on me. he didn't. He doing something. I'm not doing this of my own free will. If you know me, and I told my friends this, I told my parents this, if I come and tell you I'm gonna marry anybody, I need you to do some investigation, because something ain't right. Something in that milk is not clean. So yeah, I'm not a bitter person. I'm not one of those bitter women, but I'm good. I'm good. Uh, Other folks can remarry as many times as they want to. Because I think I saw Penny. Did you say up here? Okay, yes, my first marriage was rocky, but I toughed it out for 12 years. After the divorce, I was single for 5 before I remarried. See, I'm all for that. You know, if that worked for you, I'm happy for you for that. I would never tell anybody, uh, don't do it again. Don't I wouldn't do it if I was you. I'm not that type of person. I'm a if you like it, I love it type of person. Unless I see something like that's unhealthy going on, like they're abusive. And even then I'll be like, are you sure that's what you want to do? I'm not gonna say, you know, don't do it, because a lot of times when you tell people not to do stuff, you just making them more intent on doing it. So I learned that lesson too. So I'm just like, I try to learn how to, as my bestie that was on me the other week, Tanisha, she has this saying, let me ask you something and tell you something too. So that's how I've learned to pose my opinions on stuff. I put it as a question, like, well, have you given thought to it? That's definitely the way you want to go. I'm saying it, but I'm not. I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it. So that's how I do. Now that little long legged girl in there, it's gonna be different. It ain't gonna be too much if you like it. I love it. If I see it going in a bad direction, I'm gonna have to be vocal. But that's because she mine. As the old folks say, she mine. I can do that with her. Uh, but like anybody else in general, usually I'm like all for it. I cry at weddings. You know, I ain't one of them people that hate to see folks get married. I ain't one of them people that hate to see couples. If that's what you want, I want it for you. But anyway, yeah, I'm done with it. I'm done. But yeah, and then I don't even know how we see that goes to show how conversation goes. I don't even know how we routed all the way back round to this based on what I started off talking about. But that's why it's chit chat. Chit chat can go in any direction, I guess. But anyway, y'all, I have Peggy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. You are the only company I had for the 4th of July. So I appreciate you chilling with me. You know, I tell people, I'm like, am I boring? Did we not feed you enough? Or because people don't come, I'm not one of them houses. Well, I put it like this too, though. I'm not really one that's gonna pop up over people's houses or hang out a lot. But I tell my own family, I'm like, y'all don't never just come by or say, come hang out. It's like, do you feel like you get treated bad when you come over here? What? I have to bribe you to get you to come by. But in all honesty, I've always been a loner. That one in there turned into a loner too. I don't want her to be a loner just because I am. For me, it's a choice. I don't want her to just feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. So I be trying to urge her to get out and do stuff. Only thing about that, because she young, that mean I got to get out there and do something too. She got to have somebody to drive her and stuff. So I be trying to push her to do stuff, even though it means God be darned if I ain't got to get out there too. But it is what it is. I have enjoyed hanging out with y'all. I hope y'all have a good and safe 4th of July. I'm gonna be sitting in here in front of this computer for the next 8 hours because I do have to complete this work day, and I didn't start until late. So hopefully, it's some good juicy stuff going on YouTube that I can watch, or maybe some stuff I missed that I can go back and catch up on. Because that's what YouTube is for me. It's my background noise to keep me company when I'm working. Because other than that, it's a boring job. I have to have that noise. But see, only bad thing about it, when I put YouTube on, sometimes I get so focused on listening to the conversation that I end up reading the same sentence 5 times when I'm trying to do my work. But I still get it done. I still get it done. So anyway, y'all, have a great 4th of July. If I don't come back, which I shouldn't be back tomorrow, but have a great rest of the week. If you get a chance, check out my podcast that I started with me and 90 Pooh. I would love feedback. There's always gonna be a debate between me and her about something. So, give me your feedback. Let me know your opinion. I don't mind being told I need to look at something from a different perspective. So I would appreciate that. We're trying to keep them short. So I don't think any of them will be longer than 10 minutes. So yeah, check them out. Thanks for coming through. Like, subscribe, share, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.